Hi, welcome back. We're going through the manual for teachers here in this course. Yeah, we just finished the workbook. I almost said we're going through the workbook for students, but we've done that actually in its entirety here on this video series. So well done, well done. Anyway, if you're new and just tuning in for the first time, I'm Reverend Tomas Garza, and I want to welcome you. There's something that I am going to say that there's a part of you deep down that needs to hear, wants to hear, maybe really pleased to hear, or maybe really upset to hear today. Yet somehow, some way, you need to hear it for your own peace of mind, for your own journey. And if you weren't interested in spirituality in the first place, if you weren't interested in there being a better way to live, to do everything, then you wouldn't be here in the first place. So welcome. I can definitely say that, can't I? Because there's so much stuff out there on YouTube. And if you want to use a different word for stuff, it starts with an S. There's a lot of that out there. And don't we do this? I do this sometimes. I catch myself doing this with a news feed on social media, just taking my phone and scroll mindlessly. And sometimes I'll ask myself what I'm doing. And the response is, I don't know. So there's a lot of that out there. Anyway, welcome. We're going through the manual for teachers, and we're on question 4. What are the characteristics of God's teachers? And we've looked at a couple of them. Trust being first and foremost. Trust in what or in whom? Well, in yourself, capital S. Trust in the strength of Christ. Trust in who you are, your own power. That is the bedrock foundation for everything else that we're going to talk about. In the last video, we talked about honesty, which honesty is, well, it's very interesting. It doesn't apply, as we saw, simply to what comes out of your mouth, right? Or what you write or type into a comment thread on your own social media, right? It's not just that. It's consistency. This is how Jesus describes honesty. So are you consistent? Today, we're going to look at the third of these characteristics, and it's tolerance. Now, maybe that triggers you, and if you experience resistance to that very word, tolerance, think about it a little bit. What is tolerance? Well, it's not just saying, okay, this person with whom I don't agree at all can just go forth and live their life without my imposing my own judgments on them. Tolerance is not judging. It's non-judgment. Yeah, let your ego be deeply offended by that. Let it be frightened by that. Well, it is fear, so it's always frightened anyway. And it sees itself as an opponent to other opponents, so it's always offended. When you side with the ego, when you insist on holding yourself out as a separate self, you will always be offended and you will always be judging. That's inevitable. It's inevitable. Now, happily for all of us, the opposite is true. When we let go of all of our judgment, well, we're not judging. This is tolerance. Because when we're judging, let's think about it. Who are we judging when we say this person sucks their scum, or this group of people can go straight to hell and die? We say worse things than that. Whether they come out of our mouths or not doesn't matter, does it? If we think it, it's the same as our saying it. Now, socially, practically, it's not exactly the same thing, is it? Because some of the things that we think about people, we would never say to their faces, would we? Yet we think it, and the impact is exactly the same. Why? The content is the same. It's judgment. It's seeing yourself as separate from everyone else, which you are not. Yes, I said that. I've said that many times. Any teacher will say that. So, what happens to us when we judge? Well, Jesus explains to us right here. It's just a single paragraph, by the way, that he devotes to the subject of tolerance. What happens is it implies a lack of trust. Remember, trust is the foundational centerpiece from which all else stems. That is the first characteristic of a teacher of God that Jesus mentions. And by the way, you are a teacher, whether you hold yourself out as one or not. This is a theme that's prevalent throughout A Course in Miracles. Judgment implies a lack of trust in whom? In you, in yourself. To judge someone else is to judge yourself. It is inescapable. Really, it is. It is. There is no separate being out there. For far too long, whether you go in for the notion of past lifetimes or not, makes no difference. For far too long, we have listened to the voice of the ego. We have decided to be separate from everyone else, from God, from everyone else. Even our concept sometimes of God is, well, it's separate, where we've posited an omnipresent, omniscient, right? An all-powerful creator being who at whim can strike us down from on high, blessing whom he will, chastising whom he will. Would perfect love condemn? There is no separation of any kind. When I say this, and I say it often, I mean it literally. This is truth. There is no separation of any kind. It's illusory. We appear to be running around as separate self-sustaining survival units. Look at all of the suffering that we've heaped upon ourselves. War, political discord, more war, fights, battles, neighbor versus neighbor. Even our entire legal system, well, in most of the world, posits one person against another, versus. It's everywhere we see. It's in our sporting contests, where we act it out in a much more civil way, usually in a much more civil way. But you have an opponent in those contests, and that's just the way we've set it up. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. I love sports. Love. However, that's how our entire world is set up. It is. It just is. So what do? Well, we go to work. It's a practice that is known as spirituality. It's known as many things in the world, personal discovery, personal growth, self-help, transformation, spirituality, all the same. We begin to disidentify with the ego. We piecemeal if need be, step at a time if need be. Nothing wrong with that. We begin to set it aside. This allows the truth of who we are to dawn. One of the most powerful prayers, and I'll close today with this, one of the most powerful prayers that we could ever utter, ever, is to ask for help in setting all of our judgments aside. All of our judgments. It's very powerful. When we do that, what's left after all that? Well, everything, actually. The all, so to speak, the truth of who we are. It's there. It is there right now. It's always been there. So to the extent that you remember to do this, or that you watch this video maybe months or weeks, years from now, who knows? It's part of the beauty of putting things out there online, isn't it? Is they're out there and people can access this information whenever. So whenever you are watching this, if you remember to ask for help, ask your guide, ask God, ask Jesus, ask the Holy Spirit, ask Buddha, ask your teachers, right? If you're a Hindu, ask one of the Hindu deities. Ask your higher self, right? Ask your guide or guides. That's all a difference of form, words, basically, content's the same. Ask your teacher for help in setting aside all of your judgments. All. And on the path, start with what you feel capable of. I say this all of the time in conjunction with the practice of forgiveness, because it's very important. Nobody expects you to all of a sudden demonstrate and acquire the wisdom of Jesus or Buddha in 15 seconds. So if you try this once and you still find yourself judging people throughout the day, then just pay attention, just notice that. And please, I invite you not to flog yourself, really, not to beat yourself up or think that you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes what we all need, and it's usually the case here, isn't it? We need that incremental progress, don't we? We do. We do, because we start, well, to put it in the language of the world, we start generating some wins, which we need on the path, don't we? We need to see, to feel that this is working. So how can you tell if it's working? Well, number one, you've got to be honest with yourself and actually do it. I know, right? This is an adult responsibility. Spirituality is for grown-ups. I mean, really, when we really get down to it, it's for grown-ups. It's about taking responsibility for all this. So that involves noticing it and being aware to do it. Be honest with yourself. Am I actually doing it? So number one, actually do it. And then see how you feel. Do you feel lighter when you ask for help in laying aside your judgments? The next time you scroll your social media and politics comes up, I love to use this as an example. People rush to judgment, don't they? no matter what your beliefs are, no matter who you align yourself with or not at all, doesn't make any difference, still a choice, isn't it? You can scroll through, and if you've asked for help, just notice whether there begins to open up a gap between seeing someone's comments or seeing an article in the news feed, looking at that and your reaction to it. Is there a gap? May not happen right away, but I invite you to keep doing it. That is the purpose of spiritual practice here. It's the purpose of meditation, by the way, is to open up that gap between stimulus and response. That's what it is. Mindfulness is nothing more than being aware of this stimulus, response. Ask for help to set all of your judgments aside. And then the next time that you have an opportunity to judge, which could be right now, do you right away? Or is there some gap? Is there a delay? In that space of time, in that gap, you can make a different choice. So the more we actively do this, the more we open up that gap. This is how it works. All right. So what I want to invite you to do is try it, but be honest with yourself in the process. It's very, very important that we actually do it, because we can deceive the hell out of ourselves, can't we, on that one? So with questions, please always feel welcome to contact me here on YouTube or on social media. Or if you're tuning in from Enlightened World Network and we're not connected, then you can certainly look for me on social media on Facebook or Instagram. So really quickly, my Facebook is Tomas Garza, and my Instagram handle is at Tomas Garza Teacher, all one word. And I'm very happy to offer these ideas and thoughts to you. And it would be very, very kind of you to practice. We'll see you soon.